All right, we are live. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode 2 of Real as It Gets, and today I have a guest, and this man is different. He is special. He is one of a kind, and he's one of my best buddies from elementary school. And today I'm gonna be talking to Mr. Karan Singh. Say what's up, man.
What's up? How are you guys doing? First of all, I want to say thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, bro. It's a long time coming. I think I've been telling you for weeks, and I'm just glad that we could finally make this happen. All right, man. So I'm gonna just start firing away, start asking you a few questions. But before I say that, I really wanted to have you on just because as long as I've known you, you've probably been one of the most disciplined people that I know personally. And I just thought, you know what, man, let me just start this off with having someone that I've known for a while, and that is chasing his dreams in the medical field, and have him on. And I know personally a lot of people that are going in the medical field. I know that you do too. So I just thought maybe if they could learn something from you, or if you have some tips and advice, maybe that'd be good. So
Yeah, for sure.
before we get into that, I'm gonna have you just we're gonna go way back, and we're just gonna go dive into your childhood. So we're both Selma boys, but I want you to just kind of say your story of where you were born, how you grew up, and what Selma means to you.
Yeah, for sure. So I was actually born in Sanger, but I spent the majority of my childhood in India only because my parents they both had to work. Like how your parents probably are. Any most Punjabi parents just working to make ends meet, especially at that time. My dad was always on the truck,
Same.
and my mom was studying for her nursing exams. I think at the time she was an LVN or CNA, one or the other, and she was studying for her exams. So basically, and then working at the same time. It was really hard to take care of myself and my brother. I think I was around like two brothers, probably like about a year, 10, 11 months, something around that time frame.
Right.
Um, so basically, they had to make a tough decision in the sense that in order to actually take care of us in the long run, they had to make the sacrifice of sending us to India because there was no one to take care of us here, and a nanny cost way too much money. And we lived in Arosi at the time. I don't even remember what that house was like. I think it was somewhere in the mountains. I don't know. Like I really don't know. But I'm assuming the conditions weren't the best. So we actually went to India and we lived with my grandparents, my nana nani, and we stayed in the pen. I got used to the pen life. Punjabi was on point. It
Yeah.
was really fun, but it was actually now that I look back at it, it was so cool to the point. It was cool and interesting. Uh, when I would receive these phone calls from some lady from America, I had no idea who this was. Like, I was like, I thought my parents were my grandparents. My nana nani
Right.
were my like mapio.
Yeah.
And so when I would receive these calls, I'm like, dude, like I'd tell my nanny, like, dude, like go on phone and I'd be like, I don't know who this is, and she'd always ask questions like, I don't know, she'd probably be getting emotional, like, oh, how are you doing, son? I'm like,
Right.
oh, I'm good, I'm good.
Yeah.
But that's about it. And then so yeah, we finally came back here after I think 3 years we spent there in India. So I think around I think I was about 5 years old, and we came back. Obviously, it was an adjustment to get to know that these are actually your parents and we're your grandparents. It was hard to process that. I think it took a little while. I remember we would sleep with only my grandparents when we were little kids. Like, no, we don't know these people. And yeah, we're scared. It'd be
Yeah.
funny. And then after that, like English was a big barrier, as you can probably imagine,
Right.
and that was a struggle in itself. I remember reading like these little cat in the hat books, struggling like, oh, what does this mean, man? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
bro. I'm in the same boat as you.
yeah.
You think that helped you a lot with staying connected to your roots, going to and growing up in India very early?
Yeah, definitely. I think, well, for sure, for one thing, definitely it helped me be able to speak Punjabi. I would say to
Right.
like a decent level, I would say. And another thing is like, yeah, like I was aware of the culture, like the Kasans, like the farmers and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's what
And
I'm now. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
man,
so
look at your wall. You got Bhagat Singh up there.
yeah, I would move the count, but I don't want to like distort the whole thing. But yeah, that's
No,
focusing up there.
no worries, bro. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I kind of went through a similar experience of getting to go to school in India for a few years with me and Harry, and that's the only reason why I think our Punjabi is so solid, right? You hear a little bit of broken Punjabi sometimes with our kids our age, but
Yeah, definitely.
that's what I noticed early, young too. I was like, man, Karan is the only one that speaks like fluent Punjabi, like good, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, and then you mentioned your brother. So how close are you guys? I know me and my brother have a little bit of a complicated relationship, but ever since I've known you and Preet, and you guys have always been super close. So talk about that.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, like he's the closest person to me. I would say. There's certain things that like I think in my head, and many times, countless times, he said that out loud, and we've had this moment like, oh, Karan, I was gonna say that, or Preet, like I was literally gonna say that.
I'm not even kidding you. Me and Herlene have that all the time.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
it's
the
such a
time.
cool feeling. It's like,
It's crazy,
yeah,
right? I think it's a sibling thing, and the closer you are with them, it just happens. Like you're thinking something, and then at the same time, you just both say something. You just look at each other, and you're like, "That's crazy."
yeah, no, we definitely have a lot of those moments. But in terms of like a relationship, pretty chill. Like, not much fighting. I think very little fighting, and if it is, um, it's always for fun. It's like to gauge who's stronger and just
Right.
messing around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like yesterday, we were having this competition. It was like we went outside and we're like, oh, like we're gonna have this grappling competition. But like, I lost, but it was really fun. It was like just a lot of energy expended, and it was cool. I like that experience. But nothing physical, nothing verbal. It's really chill relationship.
Yeah, that's good, man. And then you talked about how you're really close to your grandparents, and are you still close to them today? I
Well, yeah, definitely. My grandpa passed away in 2014, but my grandma definitely very close to her.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. She's
yeah.
awesome.
No, that's good, man. I grew up with only one grandma. It's my mom's mom, my 92, and I always imagined how it would be if I had a nana, or even on my dad's side, dada dadi. So you're very fortunate to have experienced a little bit of both.
Yeah, dude, Nana was insanely strong, man. We used to have these arm wrestling competitions. His hands were bigger than mine. He destroyed me.
Yeah, man, those guys are just savage, bro. They grew up in tough times, and they try to teach us those things, and that's good that you're close to your grandparents, and then you said you come over here, and then you start going to elementary school and stuff. So you said the first biggest barrier for you to tackle was English, obviously, and I had the same problem. Coming and I was very shy, so I would not want to talk or really want to learn, and I had to kind of get over my comfort zone first. So what was the biggest, I guess, what was the best way you started to like start learning English and then kind of continue into education?
Yeah, so when I got here in kindergarten, obviously I knew nobody. I met, I was introduced to one other Indian kid. His name was Dylan. I don't know where he is
Dude,
now.
you know what's crazy? So do you know Vic, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, he is Vic's cousin, right? And it's crazy that because I was talking about this kid, I was like, man, there used to be this kid named Dylan, and I didn't know him personally, but we mess around, play basketball, whatever, during recess,
hmm,
and he ended up being Vic's cousin, bro, and I guess he lives in London now.
really. Yeah, I
Yeah,
had no idea. Like,
isn't that crazy?
yeah, that's insane. I was surprised you actually knew him. But yeah, he was one of my first friends. He introduced me a lot to, like, I don't know, the culture of America. I remember
Right. Yeah.
he got me this Batman. I don't know, it's like a figure of Batman.
Right.
It was cool. He introduced me to a lot of things such as basketball as well.
Yeah.
He was a nice guy, and yeah, he helped a lot with my transition because he was able to speak Punjabi as well. So he was like breaking down like words for me. It was a
Yeah.
cool experience.
Yeah. It's always good to have somebody translating for you, and you just don't look like a complete fool.
Yeah.
You don't look like a straight fob, but man, we've all had those. So and then what? When did you know? Did you know from a young age, or was it kind of forced upon you, or was it just you when you realized that I want to become a doctor? I want to enter the medical field.
I don't think it was ever forced. Education was highly encouraged, but never forced. Like I said, my mom's a nurse, so like obviously she's got a decent bit of education under her belt. So
Yeah.
it was like when you see her studying and like knowing so many things, about like medical field, right? You tend to pick up on certain things. And one experience I definitely remember is when we were younger, like I said, times were tough. My mom would work these double shifts, the morning and sometimes the night shift. And we were too young. Dad was always on the truck. And we would we would go with her to work during the night shifts. We would see all these patients. So I guess like the patient interaction from the young age definitely helped too, because I was seeing what she was able to do for these elderly patients that seem to have no support system, right? Their families would just leave them in these retirement homes, whether they wanted to, or sometimes it was just really hard to take care of them, right? Because of all the complications in their like mental makeup with Alzheimer's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But just seeing Ma interact with them, it was a cool experience, and being able to talk to them too, it was nice. Like they would be interested in like, oh, young people and filled with a whole bunch of old people. Let's talk to them. And yeah, so you felt like the star of the show, and you would always just talk to different people. It was a cool experience. I like that. So I guess that played a role in wanting to do some sort of medicine or some helping someone, doing something along the healthcare profession, right?
Yeah.
And then another thing was I would say I can't really explain this, but I'm just like I have this I would say desire to know more about the brain, right? I'm like, oh, like that's the portion that makes you smart, right? So I'm like, oh, like I wonder how it works, and I want to figure it out. I want to be able to, for some reason, operate on it or understand it.
Right.
So I remember in second grade we had this thing. It was called "Reaching for the Stars." It's like, where do you see yourself in the future? And I remember I wrote, "I want to be a doctor." Broken English, of course, but it said, "I want doctor." So I don't know how that gets translated to, but yeah, I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't know what type of doctor, but I definitely know that I can help people diagnose some problems and stuff like that, and contribute to society.
Yeah, it's dope, man. It's definitely dope when you kind of that aha moment, right? When you just like, oh man, this is what I really want to do. And then I'm pretty sure educators have a big role and maybe have some influence on you. You want to talk about any educators from maybe elementary, middle school, high school, even, or we'll go on later into college and stuff. But any educators that have really motivated you or influenced you and just kind of
Yeah, definitely. So the first teacher that definitely motivated me was in elementary school. It was fourth grade. Her name was Miss Nancy Taylor. Amazing teacher. She pushed me beyond my limits. I remember she had high expectations for every one of her students, and by this point, I was able to speak English and write it. But we would always do these like persuasive essays and stuff like that, which basically is like, oh, like you're making an argument of what you read, right? You're not just summarizing the main points. And I would always have trouble with that because I would just write what I read, like just literally rewrite it. But she wanted us to think about it. And I remember she told me like I got a C on the thing, and it's like I asked her like, oh, like how did I get a C? Like I like what happened? She's like, she's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is not good. This is horrible, right? And like I remember like getting a little like upset or sad. It's like, wow, like what teacher says this? But she's like, I'm only saying this because I have very high expectations for you. I expect better work. If you need extra help, feel free to come in, but this is not okay. And I was like okay, I understand. So like she helped me a lot, like in terms of like raising expectations, setting higher standards for myself, and I like that experience. That was one of the starting points of always pursuing like higher education.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I had the privilege of having Miss Taylor, and she was the same way with me, right? I was coming in from third grade to fourth grade, that transition, and I was not like the smartest, but I guess she saw something in me, right? I don't know, man. This is like I've seen this in a few teachers that they just kind of see something in you and see like your potential of what you could become. And she was the same way with me. She would make me like think outside the box, and she would kind of grade my papers a little tough, and I would always just kind of get like, man, because you just want a good grade, but you don't like even if you didn't try and you get a good grade, it feels good. But if you didn't try and then you actually get the grade that you deserve, and then you're like, wow, like this finally caught up to me. And that's the first teacher where I was like, yeah, I can't just BS and just get by. And she made that apparent too. So and that was in elementary school, and then you move on to middle school, and So like, what kind of stuck out in middle school? Obviously, you know, there's no more recess and stuff like that. Um,
Mhm.
you're not stuck in the classroom all day. You're switching around to different, you know, it's like 45 minutes. There's a different classroom. So talk about that, the transition.
Yeah, so yeah, the experience. Well, one of the main things that stuck out was the number of students, right? Because now you go from one elementary school to having a combination of six, right? And then there's seventh and eighth grade specifically. So you're always with kids your age or older. Well, in elementary school, if you're in sixth grade, you're surrounded by kids all beneath you in age.
Yeah.
So um, it was cool in the sense that you got to meet a lot more new people, right? Even though it's almost a small town, you definitely met new people in middle school, I would argue.
Yeah.
It was cool in the sense that every class was divided. So it like basically, from what I understand, is the leaving classrooms within like 50 minutes to an hour is actually really good because you're not really able to retain much after that because like you usually tend to
Yeah.
zone things out after an hour or so.
Yeah.
So that was good that the movement happened. One of the most interesting classes or one of the classes that I liked the most was definitely history. I liked Mr. Eskinder for world history for seventh grade. That guy was really funny. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, he's just a cool guy. The class itself was interesting too, but just him as a person made me want to go to that class a lot. I'm like, oh, this guy's funny. He's going to say something hilarious. It'll be good. Yeah, I like that. And a lot of teachers, a lot of different teachers played a good role. It was, I would say, Mr. Emerson is another history teacher that actually played a role in me like pursuing like higher education, just always focusing. I don't know if you had Miss Crouch or Mr. Frennis for math.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were solid too. They taught me a lot, I would argue, and yeah, it was a cool experience, I would say.
And then aside from education, you got introduced to sports. So you want to talk about a little bit of sports and how that helped you just develop as a person?
Yeah, so sports definitely, I would say, well, it helped me like hone in my competitive spirit. Definitely, I would say I'm pretty competitive. Well, now I've changed that mindset to only be competitive within
You're not
myself.
pretty. You're not pretty competitive, bro. You are competitive.
Yeah, yeah, I will say that. But now I've changed that to only with myself. But yeah, before it was just like I have to be the best at like
Right.
at whatever I do. I need to be the best at it. But it was really fun because I met, like I said, I met a lot of good people. Like my close friends, I would say, like, oh, I met Sean Naga, people like you, Ashman,
Yeah.
Rajpreet Bains, Kripal, Skippy, etc. Like, if anybody I forgot, like, it's my bad. But yeah, like, there's a lot of people I met, and they were like in seventh, eighth grade, I would say.
Yeah.
And they're my like lifelong friends, I would say. And it was cool because I got to play basketball with them. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a great experience, you know?
Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
no, yeah. I was just gonna say like that was like basketball is what helped me kind of get out of my shell and then develop just that sense of competitiveness, sense of team, and then just put that all together. And then kind of like you said, like eventually figure it out that it's just you versus you, right? It's not you versus like you don't have to be better than this guy, that guy, that guy. There's no ranking, right? But the rankings in your head, you're like you kind of just see them, and you know you're like I'm better than this person, maybe this person can beat me. And I was kind of always like that too. And I kind of figured out, I think maybe after I graduated, I was like, yeah, life doesn't work like that, bro. Like the ranking, all that little whatever you think in your head does not matter at all. So
Yeah.
it took me a while to figure that out, and I'm pretty sure it took a while like that because you know we're competitive people. So that's kind of just our thought process.
No, I also like what you said right there. Yeah, I forgot to mention this. I feel like this is the most important thing basketball helped me with was communication skills because you have to
Sure.
you have to communicate with your teammates. If you don't, there's going to be problems. You're going to lose games no matter what, even if you're evenly matched.
Yeah. No, that's 100% correct, bro. Yeah. So our viewers probably don't know, but our basketball team, your senior year, my junior year, was very successful, I would say. I don't know if this is true, but I was told that there was only that year in 2016 or 2017, there was only 8 teams in California that won 30 games, and we were one of them. Um, I don't know, man. Don't hold me on that. I heard it from like Ashman or one of the guys, but I just thought that was really cool, a feature. We played some great teams, and that was just an insanely good season. We finished it off with a championship, of course, which was dope. And you were part of that team. I would say you were probably one of the leaders of that team. You led us defensively for sure, hands
Yeah.
down. And then just having that leadership role because we were all younger guys. didn't take stuff seriously. But I remember as soon as we get on the practice, we get on the court and you would just be like, all right, guys, like time to dial in. We'd have serious practices, good practices. And that's what, helped us succeed and get that far and achieve our goals. So I would for sure say you're a really, really big part of that. And I know one of your biggest things that you commended yourself on was being a great defender. So talk about what it meant for you to pick up the best challenges on the basketball court.
I don't know, dude. I just liked it because I was like, there's no need for me to score the basketball. We have like great scorers. I was like, how do I contribute to a team?
Right.
I was like, I can play defense. Like when I was younger, I was known to be a good defender only because I was much taller, right? It's like, oh, like I can get the shots, I can block the shots because, oh yeah, like massive height advantage. But now it's like, oh, they're all about the same height, and I'm like, if I can still guard them, that's good. And like it's like a pride thing. Like if I shut their best player down, it's like I feel like that's helping our team for sure. And it's like for me, it's like I feel like I'm doing something productive as well. Like I said, like scoring, there was no need for that. Rebounding, definitely. I feel like I needed to rebound and just play defense. And I was like, I was fine with that because at the end of the day, it's like how I contribute to a team.
Yeah, bro. I remember countless times in the huddle. I remember someone in foul trouble or someone just being like, hey, I got this guy. And you'd be like, no. I got him. Like, I'm gonna pick him up. Like, this is my job. This is my assignment. And you would be good, man. And then I remember sometimes, if you get in foul trouble or whatever, but you would always just battle through and play clean, hard defense. And one more thing, I remember you would just pound water bottles during the timeouts. You would just be chugging water bottles.
Oh, dude, I was drained of energy, man. Yeah,
it was funny, but man, that was just a dope experience to be a teammate for that long from all the summer ball teams all the way to high school and actually compete with you as a teammate. That was pretty dope. And then that was towards the end of your high school, your senior year. So you finished basketball season, and then you have college on your mind. So talk about the initial process of applying to colleges, and did you have an idea of where you wanted to go, or did you just kind of go with it?
Yeah, so well, in terms of colleges, I wanted to go somewhere into the UCs, only because I feel like the resources provided for what I wanted to do. I wanted to pursue medicine, like I said.
Yeah.
That was determined a long time ago, and I haven't changed my mind since then, and I don't plan to change it now, because I've carefully thought about like the pros and cons and what I want to do, right? So I wanted to go to one of the UCs, so I applied to UCLA, Berkeley, San Diego, Irvine. I think that's it, and then Fresno State, and I think Reed. I think those are the colleges.
Backup.
Huh?
I said your backups that you didn't need.
Yeah. Well, no, you never know, right? So yeah, ideally I wanted to go to UCLA. So yeah, once I got into UCLA, I was like, okay, cool. I know some people there. I know Preet, and I feel like he can help me in terms of like pursuing my goals and help me out with like what classes to take, etc. So yeah, when I got there, I was like, okay, I'm gonna pursue biology. That's what I thought. Well, at the time, I was like, okay, I think I know the most biology. I think this will be the easiest way for me to get into med school, right? Because there's different science you can take. You can take you can be any major and still go to med school. But yeah. I was like, in terms of like helping me out the most for med school, I was like, oh, I'll take biology, I'll learn a decent amount, but not overly difficult to the point where I have no idea what's going on. So yeah, that's what made me pick biology as a major as well.
Yeah. So you apply, and then you hear back from these colleges. So which ones did you get into? Which one did you not?
Okay, so well, actually, I also did apply to Stanford. I got rejected from there. So let's start off with that. Okay, so yeah, I got rejected from there. Huh?
I said that's a good story. That's a good college to get rejected by.
Yeah. So yeah, I got rejected from Stanford, and everywhere else I got in.
And this is with like what grade? What was your class rank and your GPA and all that out of high school?
So yeah, it was like class rank 2, GPA as I don't know, probably like 4.21. I don't know. I don't know what you apply with or something like that. I think my junior year GPA was.
Oh, that just says how competitive Stanford is to get into.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think some I think most people that get in definitely have to do some sort of research, probably because they're a research heavy school.
Even
So obviously in Selma, we don't have much. Wait, what happened?
I said even out of high school.
I'm not sure. Like, I'm assuming so because like they're a super research heavy school. For med school, for sure,
Yeah.
they're a research heavy school. But I'm assuming undergrad, you have to do a lot of extracurriculars, like
Yeah.
something out of the ordinary to get in. Like Haman got in, and he did a lot of extracurriculars, I would say.
Did. That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Aside from Stanford, so what were the UCs looking like?
The UCs, I got in everywhere. Well, I got waitlisted at Berkeley at first, and then I got accepted later. But at that point, I didn't really care, like if I got in or not or rejected, because UCLA had already given me the acceptance beforehand. And at that point, I was legit just comparing UCLA versus Berkeley in terms of financial aid. I was like, honestly, whichever one gives me more financial aid, I'll go there. Fortunately, it was UCLA. And I also think if I went to Berkeley, I think the course load over there is a little bit harder than UCLA, at least in my own personal opinion, based off what I've seen or what I've heard from kids. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get in. What does that feel like? You probably just filled with joy.
Yeah, definitely. I remember I checked in my room and I said congratulations, and then I was like, yeah, like just a lot of words were said, and then I told my parents. They were in the living room, and I was like, oh yeah, like we got into UCLA. That's it. I always like saying we, like whenever I do something, only because like I feel like I wouldn't be able to do certain things or anything almost without a team supporting me. So I always like to say we.
That's beautiful, bro. I love that you just said that because, damn, that's so sick. Because I've never, like, I'll say that, right? Like my parents are my biggest supporters and stuff, but I never say we. I'll always be like, yo, I did this, but man, that was just dope. So
Yeah.
so we get into UCLA, and what's that transition like? You accept it, and then you have to get down there. So the first year you living in dorms, or you living in an apartment?
Yeah, so I'm living in the dorms my first year, and it was cool. It was a big adjustment because from being at home, right? I was like, oh, like it was good, right? Right away. You're like, oh yeah, like all this freedom, right? You can do whatever you want. But then at some points you're like, wait, dude, like I'm stuck in this box, and like I have to study and all that, but like I miss my family too, you know. You're like, oh wow, like you kind of get a little homesick. I would argue, not for all people, but for me, definitely a little bit. I would say it was a tough transition, also because like I didn't really know what to expect in terms of the classes, right? Like, I didn't know how difficult they would be because like from Selma to UCLA, it's a big difference in like rigor of classes. So I would say that was a tough adjustment. I'd say getting used to classes properly, like managing your time and all that stuff. I feel like I had to learn that on the fly, and it was tough because I used to think I was quite efficient, but my God, no, I was not.
So man, that's probably the biggest thing I think out of any like top high school students that go to these big universities. Because even some of our friends that we know, if I've had conversations with them, they're like, man, this is like not a joke, you know, like it's hard to adjust to, and this is, if you're not ready, it'll come and hit you in the face. And also I heard, I want you to talk about the competition level at these universities, that there's people that are going there, attending these universities from all across the globe. So what's the competition like academically?
So in terms of the competition, like I would say it's competitive depending on who you are and how you are as a person. Like I said before, I was insanely competitive, but when I got to UCLA, I would say I just decided to like focus only on myself, right? Like compete with myself.
Yeah.
So I didn't really notice the competitive spirit in these pre-med classes that some people might attest to, right? Because of my mindset was completely different. I didn't really care to talk to anybody else or like, I don't know, compete. I just cared about myself. And so I didn't really notice it, only because I was like, oh, I'm just locked in on doing me. That's it.
Yeah.
And I met I met one of my closest friends. His name is Deep. I met him in my chem class, fall quarter. Yeah, and he was a really chill guy. So like we would just study together, and So there was no need to reach out to anybody else because we would always study together. So like I said, that's another reason, like never notice the competitive spirit. If you meet someone that you just connect with, that's all you need basically, I
Yeah,
would say.
yeah, that's good, man. Yeah, I say you don't, it's quality over quantity.
Hmm.
Finding your support group at college. That's how kind of I was when, right out of high school, I wanted to go to UC and all that, and then yeah, it did not go my way. I ended up going local to Reedley, and I remember it was just the transition, man. Like just like not even academically, but finding out where to go, where the classes
Hmm.
are. And I imagine your guys' campus is massive, and you kind of get lost sometimes, or it just feels overwhelming. That man, like I really, like do I belong here? Do I not? Did you have any of that when you got there?
I would say in the beginning probably like, oh, like I shouldn't be here, right? Like I should have just stayed at home, stay closer to the fam, right?
Yeah,
But then like I said, over time I learned the value of managing your time and being efficient. And then after that, because like I said, the rigor of the classes were hard. But after a while, like, once you start efficiently planning your time and just managing it well, I quickly realized like these classes are not hard. It's just I can get an A in basically any single class that I want. I just need to prioritize it, right? So I learned that quickly, and it's treated me well thus far, so far.
how many people are in most of your classes? Like, what's the ratio like to professor to students?
Well, in the science classes, it's a big lecture hall. I would say easily 200 to 300 kids, easily.
And you're able to retain this knowledge that he's putting out.
So what I do is, like I said, like a different approach. Now, when I attend lectures, I try to absorb as much information as what the lecturer is saying, right?
Yeah,
Instead of just like blindly writing down notes, like, oh, like 2 + 2 is 4, right? Just like it just instead of writing that down, I'm just trying to understand, like, oh, what does this actually mean, right? Like how can I conceptually understand this, or what's this thing's value to me, or how can this be tested, right? If we're looking at a super micro level.
yeah,
And so I would the first go around. So there's multiple phases to this, right? So the first go around, you just listen to what they're saying. Take down some brief notes that you're like, okay, this is actually important. Let me write this down, right? If it's like a fact or a conceptual idea, like, oh, I need to test myself on this later. So they say whatever they're going to say, you just take it in, pay attention. Whatever you don't get, you don't get it. It's fine, not a problem. But then this is just my approach. When you go back that same day, the lecture should be uploaded, right? It's recorded, and then you can play it at your own pace, slow it down, speed it up, whatever you want to do. But now you take efficient notes, right? You take them all down, and this is your second pass of this material, right? And you're hitting it within the same day. You are more likely to remember whatever is being said the second go around, right? You're like, oh, this makes much more sense now, right? And then once I'm done with that, this is like I just test myself effective immediately. You get a blank piece of paper, you turn away whatever material you had of the lecture or whatever your notes, you turn them away, and then you're like, okay, write down whatever I just learned in that 50-minute lecture or that 2-hour lecture. You write them all down. Hopefully you write something down. At this point, you should be able to write something down. And whatever you wrote down, right? You give yourself like 2-3 minutes, whatever. You compare it to your notes. You're like, I missed this subject. I missed the algebra 2 section. Okay, like I didn't even talk about that. Let me focus. Let me go back. Let me focus on that and only that for today. And if you do this approach, you will do well because you are actively testing yourself and you've already had like 3 phases of review in just one day. Obviously, this does take a lot of time to do,
yeah,
but it's the motivation. If you want to succeed, you can definitely do it. And yeah, that's all I would have to say there.
yeah. That was like one of the hardest, I think, study habits I had to learn on my own. Was I was a robot, bro. My first year,
Mm-hmm.
I remember just writing down everything that these professors were putting up in lectures, and I was like, all right, word for word, verbatim,
Mm-hmm.
right. And before you know it, they're already on the next slide, and you're like, well, I didn't even finish that. But I had the luxury of being like, hey, is it like, can you go back and can I write that down? And they would always,
Mm-hmm.
I was probably like maybe like 30 kids,
Mm-hmm.
40 kids in the class, maybe 50 in my big
Mm-hmm.
lecture. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you guys couldn't do that. You guys can't just, I'm pretty sure you guys in a big lecture like that, you can't just say, hey, can you go back and, um, or I mean, as you mentioned, it gets recorded anyway, so it's probably just like whatever. But I
Mhm.
ended up just using that same approach that you used. Is I ended up just stop taking notes, and I would just listen, and I would start retaining it better like that if I would
Mhm.
just listen, and then
Mhm.
eventually go back to either the textbook, or I would ask one of my classmates, hey, is it all right if you send me pictures of the notes, or is it all right if I can copy your notebook? Because I would just get lost if I would just be a robot, right? And then that helped me a lot, because by the time I came like to second year of college, I was like, yeah, this is easier. My grades started getting a little better, so I started just implementing that, and yeah, that's exactly what worked for me. And then I noticed that everyone learns a little differently. Uh,
Mhm.
People that they need to like watch everything that is being done. There's like there's names for all these different types of learnings. I
Like
just
visual learners, like auditory learners. Yeah.
yeah, I just don't remember the names on top of my head. But I noticed that in college, I was like, man, everyone just learns a little bit differently. And some people struggle, and some people, I remember there used to be a girl in my class, she would write down everything, and she would come to class and with like a stack full of flashcards for everything. And I would just be like, man, like I was just like, that's crazy. But I mean, like you said, like it's the motivation, whatever works for you, right? You got to do whatever works for you.
Yeah, I want to add something to that topic too. Like you said, visual learning, right? Like when we watch a movie, I don't care how bad your memory is. I don't care. You are gonna remember what happened in that movie. I don't care. You're gonna remember the main points and some funny scenes, right? And if you can do that with a movie, right? Any movie, I'm willing to bet any movie you watch, you will remember what happened in that movie. I can ask you 5 minutes later from when that movie ended, or to a day later, to a year later, right? Certain movies, even like a decade later, you might remember it. And you only watched it once. So it's like, oh, like how much focus. I feel like the emphasis on focus. Like if you're focused on whatever you're doing and you just zone out everything else, you will retain that information. And I don't know. I feel like that's one of the more valuable things that I learned. And my dad actually taught me that. He was like, yeah, because I would ask him like, hey, like I read certain books or I watch certain lectures, and like I remember like 10% of what I just read. And he's like, you watch a movie? Like, yeah. He's like, do you remember what happens in the movie? I was like, yeah, obviously. Like, who doesn't? He's like, yeah, there's a key difference. You are focused on that movie. That movie or whatever is exciting you. It's like stimulating your brain. And you need to figure that out for education. If it's truly your passion, it should not be a problem. So I was like, you know what, you're right. And that I was a big change in like my approach and I would say success.
And that's crazy, because someone told me the same thing about music,
Mhm.
and they were like, I don't know who it was. It was one of my buddies. They were singing every song, lyric for lyric, boom. Just I don't know who they were rapping over, but just know the whole song, bro, by heart.
Yeah.
And I guess they were having a hard time in class um, memorizing something. And then I don't know who it was. I think it was his dad or uncle or someone. He's like, man, if only you try that hard in school.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's yeah, if you focus on anything you want to do, you will do it no matter what.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And then let's talk about the location. So you're in the heart of California. You're in Los Angeles. What was that like? There's a lot of beautiful places to go in LA, and
Yeah.
were you always out and trying to experience new things, or were you kind of spacing it out between education and then kind of have that social life too?
So like I don't know, maybe I'm wired differently. Like my goal when I went to UCLA wasn't really to explore all that much. It was like this is a stepping stone and it's gonna lead me to med school. And after med school I'm gonna get into residency and be a
So
doctor.
strictly business.
It is only and only business. I would play basketball. That would be my source of fun. And that's like I think I'm just a very simple individual because that's all I need. Like all
Yeah.
I need, I don't need to go hiking. I don't need to,
Yeah,
I don't know,
bro. Do you
go out.
remember? Do you remember when I came to visit you that one time?
Yes.
It was me and I believe it was Chris that came with me,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
were, we were in town. I was still in high school, and
Hmm.
we were all worked up. We were like, bro, we're in LA. Like we're about to go. We're about to go just explore the city and stuff. And I remember I had hit you up,
Yeah.
and I remember we were not too far away from you guys, and I was like, yo, you want to go see the UCLA campus? And he's like, yeah, that would be dope. So I remember we met up with you, and I remember it was like a Friday night, and I hit you up when we got really close. You went and got us from wherever we were. I remember we were just lost, and then you took us to your dorm. And I remember it was a Friday night, and I was just like, you were just chilling, bro. I remember, I think if I remember correctly, you were just, I think, reviewing some notes or something, just working on your homework or something. And I was like, yeah, we're trying to find out like where, you know, the function is or whatever. We're trying to do something. I was like, you want to go? And they're like, nah, I'm good, bro. You guys go and do that. You're like, if you need a place to crash, you know, I'm right here. Just hit me up.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing that in high school, and I was like, man, like this guy just really doesn't care about that extra stuff. It's all business and just whatever you need to get done. That's the only thing that matters to you. And that was dope to me because I saw that and I was like, man, like that was dope. And that kind of is the same approach I took when I got into college. I kind of was like, man, this is where a lot of people get lost in the sauce. And for me, since I went to a junior college is way different than universities because there are people of literally all different ages. There's people that are getting into junior college that are fresh out of high school like me. And then there's people that come back to junior college just to get the education that they never got, right? So there's people that maybe got married and started working quickly. Maybe if someone had a kid, or maybe if someone just gave up on education, and then at some point it just kind of hit them that they want to go back. And that was the biggest thing for me going to junior college. And I was like, man, there's like older people here,
Yeah.
like for real. And then I remember my first semester, I had a math class and it was a stats class, and I sat down and this older gentleman came in, and I was just like what the heck? I was like, man, this guy looks old. And then I was like, man, I was like, sir, if you don't mind me asking, like, what made you want to come back to college? And he's like, and I remember I'll never forget this because I was like, this is crazy. And he said he was 57, coming back to college to get his AA just because he had no job security and he was bouncing around from job to job, and that if he had at least an AA, that he can get hired on as I think like a work manager or something somewhere. And I remember he was like, yeah, don't stop going to school. No matter what, do not stop going to school. And I was just like, man, like it just kind of hit me, you know. I was like, man, that's real. That's real life. Like get your education. And like for me, like my parents always valued education, right? But at a certain point, I was kind of losing that vision. I was like, man, I'd rather just start my own business or do that or this. But like even the logistics of that, to starting your own business, like you need to have some sort of knowledge, or you need to have some sort of like networking. And I didn't have any of that, right? And I was like, yeah, my best bet is to go to college and work my way up. And I'm glad I did. You learn a lot while you go to college about yourself and you know, your vision and your dedication. Like how bad do you really want this? I'm pretty sure you've had classes where you were like, man, like, do I really want to do this? All right, this is like, and then you're just like, yeah, this is what I got to do, and I'm gonna get through it. And then you're up late night and you're off of 3-4 hours of sleep. You go to class, you go take a test, you come back, and then you just do that all over again. And it was dope. So I'm pretty sure that you have similar stories of you up late night, but that was just a dope moment that I remember that kind of helped me like realize like college is a business trip, and you shouldn't get really distracted.
Yeah, no, definitely. But in terms of late nights, I don't really remember ever pulling an all-nighter.
Yeah.
But that goes back to uh, being just trying to manage my time really, really well. I think my sophomore, a little bit of my junior year, I thought my course load was, I would say, pretty tough. But just managing your time really well is, I think, key. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. And then, like you said, that's all you did, really? Just kind of go and play basketball, hit the gym, and then,
A gym a little bit.
or let's make it a little simpler. What was a daily life, like a day in the life with you? What time you wake up and all that stuff?
Okay, so roughly, we'll just wake up, let's just say 8, 9, wake
Okay.
up, go to class, probably let's just say, like, my schedule was always terrible in the sense that there was like a lot of breaks in between. Let's just say
Yeah.
like 9 to
I hate
10 was class.
Yeah.
9 to 10 was class, and then let's just say I had class, well, 10 to 10:50. Let's just say it was a good schedule today. And then at 10:50 I'd be done. Well, kind of. I'd come back, eat lunch, always at 11. I was like a military man. I always had to eat lunch at 11 and dinner at 5. That's how I worked.
Yeah.
And I would have like lunch, probably 30 minutes, whatever. And then if I have a break, go back to the dorms, but in the lounge, and then just study, right, for a little bit, probably like 30, 40 minutes. Go to class, come back, finish up some work, study, and if I have time to play basketball, play that. If not, just keep cranking out the study hours and stuff like that. That's about it. And it was kind of rewarding because I would have these like mini tasks for myself, like, oh, I need to do this and this and this, and then I can play basketball. Or if I do this and this, then I can watch like a YouTube video or something. And it's like a little checklist of like a gaming system for me. You know, it's like, oh, I can save like you know, you like when you get to a mission, you can save. You're like, okay, this is my last checkpoint. Okay, that's how it was.
A little checkpoint.
Yeah, so that's how it worked.
Yeah, bro, that's crazy. I do the same thing. I'm pretty sure a lot of people do that, but it works. It works for me. Like I'll be like locked in doing certain assignments, and then I want to watch a TV show or I want to go hit the gym or something. I'm like, I cannot leave until I get this done, and that always helps me because if you just kind of get up and leave halfway through an assignment or whatever you need to do, I feel like it's just harder to get back into it and to complete it and effectively and like efficiently, not just kind of half-ass it and go through it and just get it done to get it done. Because I've done that plenty of times where I've done assignments where I'm like, I just want to get this done and I'm just gonna just right away or whatever. Or I'm in a discussion and I have to just be like, like this is, hey, blah blah blah, this is so good, blah blah blah. And I'll just be like, man, I just need to get this done, and I'll just boom. But there's times where in those discussions where I've like realized different perspectives. Like, it's a certain topic and everyone has to just write about it, maybe 500 words. And then sometimes when I would read those, I would be like, man, that was pretty good. Like her perspective is different from mine. And like I understood it. I understand where she's coming from. And it was like, okay, like I need to start reading more of these instead of just kind of getting through them just to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. Like being open-minded to different perspectives is, I don't know, like I think a key skill that I definitely had to learn because, like, I thought I was pretty narrow-minded before. I still am working on it, I feel like it's a good skill to have.
Did that diversity on campus, did it kind of change that and affect that?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say like you were always introduced to like different viewpoints, some viewpoints that make much more sense than your current viewpoints.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh wow, like I think I should change my beliefs. But I had many of those conversations with my friend Deep. He's very educated and has helped me see different perspectives a lot.
Nice, man. And then so just recently, you want to talk about the whole how school was like online while COVID hit, and then finishing up with your bachelor's, bro. You talk about the whole behind the scenes about that. I know we've been March or April 2020, we've been on online school, and you still got it done. So I wanted you to talk about how that was online, and then finishing up your bachelor's, and then we'll move on to post.
Okay, for sure. So online school, I would say it was an adjustment, I would say, but I would say it was an adjustment for everybody. So I don't know, I would say it definitely had its benefits in the sense that like it gave you freedom of choosing when to watch those lectures and how you want to proceed about your day-to-day life. I would definitely say like in person was much harder than online, I would argue, but that's only because like you have to account for different people in different circumstances, right? Like me and you might be much more fortunate than someone else, and then that has family members that are going through COVID or that are negatively impacted by other effects or I don't know, hurdles of life. So I do think it was a good thing overall, and I think it definitely sped up my process to graduating because I was able to take more classes in the summer and also save money as well. And then in the fall I graduated. Now I'm just waiting on hopefully med schools, acceptances, interviews, etc. So yeah, that's just the way. It's a grueling process. I started it in June, so I took 4 classes over the summer and two in each session, and so I submitted my primary application and then got verified, and then you send these secondary essays. It's like school specific essays.
Yeah.
And each school's, it's like they more or less, some of the questions are very, very similar, but you still have to target it for that school, right? Because each school is different. So although the question may be the same, right? Because their focus could be different. So I spent a lot of time on that. But with classes and stuff like that, it did take a lot of time. But then again, like the efficiency was at an all-time high because you usually have like a 2-week window to submit your secondaries. That's like the general rule of thumb is from the point you receive your secondaries, you have about 14 days to return it. If not, some of the schools just automatically reject you, or it just looks bad because it's like, what were you doing? You had 14 days to write this. Yeah, so you wrote those, and then after that, you just wait for an interview invite. That's it. So right now, there's been I applied to like 26 schools. I still have yet to hear back from 16 of them. Right now, I'm on the interview wait list for 2 of them. One's in Arizona, Tucson, and the other one's in Tulane, which is in Louisiana. Other 8 schools, 8 schools. I would say, yeah, those did not go that well. So those are out of the contention. But we're waiting on 16 others to hear back from so far.
Yeah. Man, that's wild. So all across the country, you get in anywhere, you're pretty much going. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Also, in terms of the applying process, some of the schools I applied to did not accept any out-of-state people, and they just added to the rejection pile. So I'm like, okay, like I made a mistake so that's another like valuable thing to know. Like, pay attention to where you're applying. Like, some schools do not accept out-of-state students, and I was like. And when I got rejected, I was like, wait, like that makes no sense. Like I thought I was good. But it's like, no, we don't accept any out-of-state students. So yeah, you have to be very careful with that as well. So yeah.
Are you trying to stay in state in Cali or anything goes?
Well, I ideally want to stay in state because it's like so much easier, right? Like in terms of like tuition, and then you're just close to your family. You can come back whenever. And I'm used to California, right? Like,
yeah,
I know what to expect weather-wise. If I end up in Michigan, I don't know how the weather's like necessarily, and nor do I know anybody there. Yeah, I heard it's really cold
out there.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm open to anywhere, getting in anywhere, but ideally California.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's just something new that you need to just kind of embrace. I feel like it's going to be a long process. I know you probably have buddies and that have already gone through it, so they're probably helping guide you through it. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what pretty much I was just getting at is you probably have somebody to kind of just refer to going through the process, and then even if you like you said you get rejected, so have 16 more. It's not like
definitely
it's the end of the world if you get rejected.
Yeah, no, definitely. Right now though, like on the side, like just to always make yourself like, I don't know, like a better applicant or just, I don't know, improve. I'm also doing like research at UCLA. I've been doing it for about 2 years. This is it's a neuroscience research lab. Soon we're gonna get published, and I'll be on that as like one of the authors, not the primary author or anything like that, but like one of the authors on it. My name will definitely be there. So I'm just working on that right now. So just something to keep my mind off things,
Yeah. How do you get in on something like that? Do you have to apply, or you just you kind of just get picked up on a research team? Or
so yeah, you can do. Well, there's something called cold emailing, which is like basically like you look up a faculty member, you type in UCLA neuroscience faculty, and then it'll show you all these professors. And basically every single professor does do research, and then you can click on their email, etc. Send them an email like, oh yeah, my name's Karan Singh. I'm a first-year bio major. I liked your lab on cancer research.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you had any openings. Please let me know. I've attached my resume and, I don't know, cover letter or CV down below. That's it. And usually your success rate with that is very, very low because, first of all, they don't know you. Second of all, they're usually packed, I would say. Yeah. So you can get in that way. The other way you can get in is through your classes. So when you take these professors, if you build a good rapport with them, you talk to them, go to office hours, they're, like I said, 99% chance they're doing research. And you can ask them like, hey, like, I'm looking to do research, and obviously you have to look up the professor beforehand and see what they're actually doing research in, right? Because then that shows interest. So They're like, oh yeah, like I see you're doing interest in like the neuron. I like that. It's cool. I was wondering if you needed anybody else that can help. I don't mind doing anything. I just want to be able to contribute to the lab, and you can get in that way. I think that way is probably like a higher chance way. And then the third way is you just know someone. You just have connections, like you said. Like my friend Deep, he the way we got into the lab was because his mom, I think, got us into the lab through her, like her knowing the PI, the principal investigator. So we got in through that way, and we've stayed on board over 2 years now, I would say roughly. And it's been quite the journey. But the lab's pretty cool. I learned a lot. It's about like the importance of like sleep and how it provides stability in your circadian rhythms and how that can actually help offset diseases that have no cure, such as like Alzheimer's and Huntington's disease, right? Because they like end up basically destroying your brain inside out. So yeah, it's been a cool experience. And actually, just yesterday, I was told that we're hoping to get a publication soon. Yours and Deep's name will be on there. So that was a really good feeling. And I was like, okay, that's another thing, like I said, to keep my mind off the med schools in the meantime. So I like that.
Yeah, that's dope. Do you want to do that sometime in the future too? A little bit of
Research?
Yeah.
Research, it truly depends on the topic. And well, in research, there's usually two categories. There's like a chemical, the nitty gritty small, like you're looking at the, what is it? Like the microscopic details, right? Like the cells and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then there's like the behavioral aspects, or like, just like observing. I like the behavioral aspect because then you actually get to like take care of mice, interact with them. And I don't know, it's just, I just like animals in general, but like mice, not so much, but they're all right. So yeah, you get to see their behavioral tendencies. You actually see it, right? You see a normal mouse and you compare it to a mouse that has the disease for Alzheimer's and Huntington's, and you're like, oh, in the beginning they look the same, but if you put them on this rotor rod, which is like basically like a hamster wheel, think of it.
Yeah.
And it tests their ability to stay on the rod like as long as possible, and it's going to keep accelerating, so it picks up speed. And you compare them and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So it is messing with their motor functions, the mice that have Alzheimer's or Huntington's, because they tend to fall off faster. And then you actually see it. I feel like you develop a deeper appreciation when you can actually see things, as opposed to like, oh yeah, like this cell is impaired and this one's good. It's like, I don't know. I think it's satisfying to some people, but for me, I have to physically see it.
No, yeah, that's dope, bro. That's something that I remember having in my lab in my first year. We did a couple labs for biology.
Mm-hmm.
It was mostly like plants and stuff. We put them under the scope and put a little bit of drops of whatever on there. And I remember observing under the scope, and I remember just tripping out and being like, man, that's crazy, like on the molecular level or whatever. And I would be like, man, this is dope. And I remember I don't remember like anything from the class specifically, just because I was just doing it just to do it, to get it over with. But I remember just to physically to be able to see these molecules or whatever we were looking at that time. I remember it was just dope. And yeah, I like that too, man. I think research is dope just because it's forever. Like that paper that you guys are on, maybe it could help somebody write their research, or they could cite your guys' research from that research that you guys held. Like I think that's just dope. It's everlasting.
Yeah, I would argue the education provided by it, like you said, can alter someone's life and change it, because it's an approach that anybody can do at home. It's called time-restricted feeding, right? It's like you eat at a certain period of time, you don't eat the rest of the time. So you can only eat in a 6-hour window. And the other 18 hours, you're allowed to have water, constant access to water, but other than that, you don't have any access. What that actually does is it provides stability in your circadian rhythms. And once that happens, the chance or the likelihood of you getting Alzheimer's, well, you will still get it, right? Like you'll still experience the effects if you have it, right?
Yeah.
But you're delaying the process, which is good, right? You're extending your life just by making a lifestyle change, which is like you said, if anybody reads it and if it just helps one person, I think it's definitely worth it.
That's dope, bro. No, yeah, for sure. And that's kind of why I think I said in my first video too, is that if it helps one person, that is like, that's all you need, right? It's
Mhm.
like the most, like, it's just soothing. It's just soothing just to know that your words or your research or anything that like you put out there just help one person, and then maybe that helps on, like, they pass it down to another person. It's just like an endless cycle. Yeah, that's for sure. One of the things I was trying to do with this channel and have you on. And then going back to just medical school, you're gonna hear
Mhm.
back. You finish your, what is it, 3 years of med school,
Oh, four. It's 4 years in med school.
4 years of med school, then you go on to residency,
Yeah.
and then you that's more hands-on stuff.
Yeah. So well in med school the first 2 years I would say it's just you're hitting the books. You're hitting them hard and you're getting the content down, right? Like
Yeah.
what you need to know. And then year 3 and 4 of med school is I think it's called like clinical rotations or clerkships, I believe. And that's when you're mostly in the hospital and you're just following the physician around and I don't know, picking up some small details. You get tested on this as well. You'll have like practical exams. You'll still have your content exams as well, but year 3 and 4 you're mostly in the hospital, spending a lot of time with the physicians and learning a lot of things. Then in residency, you're basically a doctor, but you're still under a more experienced physician
Mm-hmm.
because there are certain things you still have to learn. Just because you read the book and you've got like I don't know, you've seen some things for like a year or 2 years, doesn't mean you still know how to do it, right? Because there's a huge learning curve from watching someone do it and you actually doing it, and then so that residency I think is a necessary component to hone in on your skills and I don't know, save as many lives as you possibly can with being experienced. So that's a cool. I think that's a cool aspect. I'm looking forward to it.
Do you think that you will eventually come back to the valley and serve our community, or
Mhm.
wherever that you're going to
So
at that time, or maybe just wherever you just find a job?
yeah, so well that last part you said plays a huge role, right? Like if I don't find a job in the Central Valley, if I find it in Irvine or find it in San Francisco or Sacramento, I'm gonna have to take that. But ideally, I want to stay in California, and I want to stay in the Central Valley only because like I want to be able to give back to the community, right? Because it's like I would argue we're underserved and under resourced in a lot of things if you
For sure.
compare it to like those big cities, LA, San Francisco.
Bro,
I don't know
bro,
anything.
just COVID example. My bad, I interrupted you, but just COVID
Mm-hmm.
example. I I had to go get tested. I was around one of my buddies that he said he tested positive, and I was like, well, you know what, whatever. I need to go get tested. I go get tested on a Sunday, and I didn't get my results back till like Thursday. And I remember I was like, man, like this is taking forever. And then I remember I was on the phone with Ashman. He's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
bro, here it's like in LA. He's like, it's like 24 hours
Okay.
minimum and max maybe. He's like, but it never even gets that far. Max like 3 days. And I was like,
Yeah, exactly.
and just the like efficiency that they're able to get the results out to you. I think that's that's everything, because there's people that like they get tested and then just waiting, they're like, I'm just gonna go out, I don't even know. But then they go out and then they get people infected or whatever, they have interactions or they get super close within 6 feet with people and they're spreading the
Mm-hmm.
virus or whatever. But and then they get their test results, they get the results back days later, and then they're like, oh man, maybe I should have just stayed in. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole different conversation for another time. But
Yeah, no,
it's just the
definitely.
efficiency of we're kind of underserved in the valley and in terms of medicine. But I think it's coming along. I've seen more clinics get built around here, and
Yeah.
neighboring cities, which is good. Like the population's growing here too, so I think it's good.
Yeah, no, but like I said, I want to ideally serve in the valley, just like you said, and like we need it. I feel like just helping one person, you can turn someone's life around. You know, they can contribute to society that you never thought you could. You thought it was ever possible. You know, so
Yeah.
it's a cool experience, and I feel like I'm used to the valley. Like I'm basically born and raised here, and
Yeah.
I like it. You know, it's
Yeah,
good.
no, for sure. And then you're a first generation college student. Like, how does that make you feel? Like, or like, like for me, I get super kind of proud about it. I never really cared about it too much, but you're kind
Mm-hmm.
of like you're the setting standard. You're setting the standard for the upcoming generations to come, and we're kind of blessed to be born here in the U.S. and be given the opportunities that we have. But I think
Mhm.
being first gen student is super important, that you take your education serious so you can set up the foundations of the upcoming generation. So if you want to talk about what that means to you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think my answer might be slightly, maybe misunderstood, but I do think graduating college is a big deal, right? I think it should be celebrated. But for me personally, like I said, we've talked about this before. It's like a stepping stone, and I'm like, oh, I'm not done yet, right? It's
Yeah.
like like Kobe Bryant said, like job's not finished. Yeah, he's not. It's not finished.
Nope.
No, we're not done yet. And so in my mind, it's just like I said, I can save this checkpoint and we're moving on to med school. Once we save that, we're in residency. Then my final goal of actually being a physician and opening up my own practice or working at a hospital, then I'll feel like, yes, we can celebrate then. But right now, it's sure, it's a you can congratulate yourself, you feel good, and you've done something productive, no debate. But for me personally, like I just see things in a macro scale, and I'm like, I'm not there. I'm not where I need to be. So we need to get there. Then we can celebrate, right? So
Yeah.
that's how I see things.
Would you say that you're hard on yourself?
No, not really. I don't think I'm hard on myself. But if you're an outsider looking in, you might think that, or it might look like that. Um, I don't know. I just feel like my life's pretty easy. Like I have no complaints. My parents have made it very easy for me. I would say very fortunate. Like, or even if there are problems, I just refuse to acknowledge them. You just have to power through, right? Because we don't make excuses. You just power through. And like I always compare my life to my parents. Like I'm like, dude, my dad lived in a broken house with like 50 people, or not 50, but like an insane amount of people in the 80s.
The extended
Like
family.
sleep, yeah, like no, it's just like workers. Like he used to work in the farms in the 80s. He came here at age 18, 1980, and he used to work at Crothers and the farms. He showed me the house. It's like broken down, and I'm like, oh. I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, son, I used to sleep here on the floor. You see that sand? I'm pretty sure that's where I slept. I was like, oh, cool. And then basically, like I said, like he's taught me, like he's worked really, really hard. He set the gold standard in my head. I'm like, okay, that is a mountain I need to conquer, but I know I can't conquer it, but I need to work as hard as I possibly can to be like, you know what, like I can see, like I can be like, oh, like I've accomplished something significant in comparison to my dad. I feel like he's done a lot. My mom's done a lot in terms of like setting boundaries and exceeding them. And I don't know. I just feel like these are very, very hardworking people. And it might look like I'm hardworking, but trust me, man, it's no competition. This is a competition I want to participate in, but I just don't think I'm qualified. They're on another level
Yeah.
of hard work.
I totally agree with you, and I'm the same way with myself. I would say I'm kind of hard on myself, but not as much as I should be, right? Because there's more that you want to improve and hone your skills.
Yeah.
But the outside person looking in, they're probably like, man, this dude's crazy. These guys work.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm pretty sure they've diagnosed me. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then the same thing with the parents, that they kind of set the standard for you, right? Like even
Mhm.
parents like just working insanely hard. Pretty sure a lot of parents do that for you, but it just does something to you. It just drives you, just motivates you, and then
Yeah.
it just stays with you. You know, like you're
Mhm.
having a shitty day or whatever, and you're like, all right, I could just kind of chill, and then into something just in your head is just like, nah, like you got to keep going, buddy. Like you
Yeah.
can't just give up.
I remember one person asked me, don't you ever think you're going to get burnt out, right? And I thought it was a good question, but the way I answered it is, if you can see yourself burning out, then you will burn out. It's a mindset at the end of the day. Like, um, if you, yeah, like I said, like if you see yourself burning out, you will burn out, and you just need to like, it's how strong your motivation is to succeed. If
Do
it's high,
you not get mentally tired like when you're studying a lot and stuff?
no, I don't think so because I can do it day in day out. I no
Or
problem.
do you just take breaks?
Oh no, definitely I'll take breaks. I'm not saying I'll sit there for 24 hours, but I'm saying if you need me to study every single day,
yeah,
I like doing that. It's not a task. It's fun because
yeah,
I try to like I try to adapt like the Sikhi concept of learner, only learner. Like I'm like I can learn as much as possible. Let me do it. It's
Yeah.
fun, right? The more knowledge you have, it's good. You can contribute to, like I said, contribute to society or carry on conversations that are valuable and might change someone's life or it might change your own. When you pick up extra knowledge.
Yeah. No,
And
that's
yeah.
for sure, bro. For sure. I think that's like one of the biggest things is just to be a constant learner.
Hmm.
Like I remember when I was young, I used to think I was like a know-it-all, like super smart guy, right? And then somewhere along the path you just meet another really like an actual smart guy, and you just get checked, and you're like, yeah, that guy is smart. I'm not even there. Not even close.
No, definitely. I feel you. Like
And
I felt the same way. I used to think I was really smart, and it's a humbling experience when you realize like, I'm not even close. Like I'm getting destroyed. Like I need to work harder, and that's how I see myself. Like I said, like the wiring in my brain, I'm pretty sure it's just like I would argue it could look borderline robotic, but for me, it's just like I just need to get to my goals, and I need to
yeah,
crush them and just make new ones.
do you have any future endeavors past the medical field? To say you finish, you're a doctor. Do you
Yeah,
maybe want to start your own clinic, start your own business? Do you want to like? Do you have any of those thoughts, or is that
yeah, yeah.
far away?
So no, like I told you, I always look at things macro scale, like always in the future and plan things out.
Yeah,
Right? So minimal surprises. So ideally, I think most feasibly, I'd have to work in a hospital in the beginning, right? Because I don't think I'll have a clientele to have a private practice right off the bat. So work there, then slowly, once I have the experience and the credentials and the following, get my own private practice. And then I also want to farm on the side. I just cause like I don't know, I like the concept of farming. I don't know much about it, but that's the learning aspect.
it's in
Learn as
our
much as
blood,
possible.
bro. It's in our blood.
Yeah, but I'm definitely lacking the knowledge. But yeah, I want to pick that up, learn as much
Yeah,
as possible for that, and just it'll be good. Like I think this is a very selfish reason. I'm like, I like dogs. I'm like, oh, once I get another like dog, it'll have open space to like roam the fields, and that'll be cool and stuff like that.
yeah, no, for sure. No, that's one of my long-term goals too. Just have just a piece of land where you have
Hmm.
privacy, and then
Yeah, exactly.
just let your dog run around, and you're kind of away from the noise, away from the city.
Hmm.
It's just good for your head. That's something that I want to in the future. But yeah, I like how you said that you want to eventually branch out and become your own boss and have your own practice, which is I think
No, definitely, and that's another reason to stay in the Central Valley. It's cheaper to buy land here, and actually there is land here as opposed to I don't know buying land in San Francisco. Like
oh,
you're
bro,
not getting anything.
millions for like a small
Yeah.
plot of land. But yeah, I mean it's a little bit more ideal to do all that here in the valley.
Hmm.
But yeah, man, we've had a dope conversation, and I mean, before we cut it off, if you have any advice for maybe younger kids that are in elementary, middle school, high school, or maybe that are just on their journey and they think that they want to do medicine, and then they watch this and they're like, oh man, like, do I really want to? Like, this guy just loves it. Like, if you have any advice for younger kids, shoot away.
Yeah. So the advice is, I'm just gonna sound like a broken record. Like figure out what your passion is, and then pursue it at all costs. If you think you don't have enough time, we can do quick mental math here. There's 24 hours in a day. You sleep for 10. You have 14 hours left. Let's just say you have 6 hours of school. So now 14 minus 6, we're at 8 hours. Those 8 hours you can either choose to waste by playing video games, watching TV, or sitting around doing nothing, or you could be the change you want to see in the world.
That's dope, bro. And yeah, that's pretty much that sums it up a lot. Is what do you do with your time? When you're not busy. And yeah, I think it's so important because for me, for the longest, I was kind of wasting that time. And I mean, you think you're done. Like you're like, oh, I mean, I'm done with my homework. I'm done with anything I could do on the side. But there's always just more. And I never understood the concept that like more, right? Like, can I read? Or, can I maybe, learn a different language? And like, we don't really think about that. And I was just thinking like, yeah, and there's always more. And now like sometimes I drive myself crazy because I try to look for something to do instead of
Mm-hmm.
kind of waiting. But there's time where I like to just have TV time or watching
Yeah,
a new show. I'm watching Cobra Kai or whatever,
I
whatever.
heard that's a really good show.
I just started it, but everyone that I've talked to, they really, really like it. So I would recommend it. It's based off the Karate Kid movies. If
Yeah,
so,
Sean Gill was telling me about it. He's been telling me over and over to watch it now.
Gilly, that guy's hilarious. But yeah, before we end it, I just want to ask you just one question. Do you think college is worth it?
Well, for me personally, it depends person to person, right? Like, it depends what you want to get out of life. If you want to be a physician, you basically have to do it. But if you want to just be a, I don't know, like carpenter skills or something like that, just a craftsman.
More vocational training.
Yeah, you'd still have to attend school, but I don't know if it's classified as college per se. But yeah, you still need to pursue higher education in almost every single field that you want to pursue. So it's person to person. It depends on, yeah, like I said, it depends person to person.
Yeah. No, I think you put it beautifully and simply. It's just varies people to people. And the reason I wanted to ask you that is because, and over coronavirus, there's been a lot of like speculation about, is college is worth it. There's been a lot of like loads of people that are starting businesses online, whether that be social media marketing or
Mm-hmm.
whatever else, just physical businesses, and I've just been wondering what people's thoughts was on college, and obviously you value education, so there's no other way around it for you than
Yeah.
to participate in education.
Well, yeah, you can still learn a lot from YouTube. It's crazy how much information's on YouTube. So
like my best friend, it's crazy.
yeah, no, definitely. I've been watching a lot of videos on things I don't even understand, like some quantum physics, and just getting confused. I'm like, oh, tomorrow we'll try it again.
Yo, I remember that. I watched the video. It was like something about a cat in a box.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. It's like the uncertainty principle, right? Like you're not sure if it's dead or something like that. I'm pretty sure.
When I started, I was like, this is crazy, and then I was like, wait, what? I gotta watch this again. I rewind. I watched it again, and it just blew my mind even more. And I was like, man, there is so much knowledge out there. And
no, definitely, it's
grow up in this era that everything is one click away, and our parents didn't have that. And I think that's another reason that there shouldn't be any excuse, like you were talking about earlier, that I don't know, or I'm not motivated enough. Like you're not motivated enough. Google something. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, motivation, boom, or whatever.
yeah.
And I think everything's a click away, and there shouldn't be an excuse to whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say one last thing. I'd say another thing that drives me is I don't know, something in my head. I just hate laziness.
Bro,
I don't know.
I cannot stand lazy people. Like, I don't know, like when I feel like once you've put in a certain amount of work, that you just value hard work, and you just value like the feeling and like you get, when you get stuff done. So for me, like I cannot stand lazy people, and I used to make it known, like, bro, you're so like, what are you doing, all this, and I had to kind of chill, like, man, everyone's different, like, and I had to just keep it in my head, like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not gonna let this person get into my head just because he's lazy. Like if that's how he is, that's just how he is. He hasn't learned the importance, like of or value even of what it feels like to get work done consistently and to not waste your time, because time is like your biggest asset. I would that's what I would think.
Yeah, I want to just hone in on this. When people say they don't have enough time, you just try holding a plank for like 5 minutes. Tell me, then you'll realize how valuable each minute is, right? Because they're like, oh, I'd only have like 2 minutes to study, but take those 2 minutes. Or I only have 2 minutes to work out today. To use those 2 minutes. I only have 2 minutes to run. I don't care. Use those 2 minutes. You don't know the value of a minute until you're put in extreme circumstances. And
there's this
you'll see.
Yeah, there's like this quote I saw or something. It was illustrated with a picture, and it was like a guy carrying 2 buckets of water, and he said,
Mhm.
you don't understand the value of each drop until you start losing them. So he was pretty much just saying that this person has to get from point A to point B with as much water as you can, and then it's when you're walking, the water is starting to get out.
Pour out, yeah.
So he says you start to, as soon as you start losing a little bit of water in those buckets, it's when you understand the value of each drop.
Yeah, like it goes back to that quote. You don't realize the value of something until you lose it.
Yeah, it was dope, man. It was just dope. But yeah, man, we had an interesting conversation. I'll for sure have you on sometime in the future. I'm pretty sure you'll have more insight and knowledge for everyone else. But thank you for doing this. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me on, man. This is a great conversation.
All right, brother. Next
All right,
time.
man.
See you next
Yep.
time.
Yep. Take care.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was an episode 2. Next week I'll have someone else on, but that was an interesting conversation. There's going to be more coming on just like this, so stay tuned. And thank you so much for staying patient with me. I know I've been kind of hyping this up and all that, but I'm still figuring everything out. So stay patient with me. Thank you so much. Have a great day.